Hey everybody, welcome back to Roto Curve. It's Josh Collacchi here with today's pitching picks. First things first, it's Clayton Kershaw day today, which means that not only will he be the most highly owned pitcher in cash, he'll probably be the most highly owned pitcher in GPPs as well. And the first thing I want to discuss with days like this, when Kershaw has a good matchup, and he does against the Washington Nationals today, it becomes a game of hitter versus hitter on one pitcher sites. And on two pitcher sites, it becomes a game of the other pitcher, your SP2, against the rest of the pitchers, or the rest of the hitters on the other team's lineup. Now, that being said, if Kershaw blows up in a game where he's very unlikely to, actually, and he's been very consistent this year, but if he blows up, chances are you're going to cash if you don't have him. Now, that being said, it might be worth taking a few GPP lineups without him today, but in cash, I think you definitely have to go with him. Let's get into the rest of the slate. Obviously, with Kershaw there's a lot of other pitchers that will be very lesser owned, and that's one thing that is very interesting on days where he pitches. I love to look at the other lineups and how other people use the top aces. Excuse me. So the other aces that are throwing today are Garrett Cole against the Cardinals, Jacob deGrom against Colorado Rockies, and Danny Salazar against New York Yankees. Of these three, or of these two, actually, the fact is Kershaw is my top pitcher, so we can kind of put that on the back burner for now. But the other guys, Cole, deGrom, and Salazar, I don't like Cole as much as the other two, simply because he doesn't have a great matchup. The lefties in that Cardinals lineup have been hitting very well of late, especially Matt Carpenter. So he doesn't have an excellent matchup, although he does have some of the best stuff in baseball. I'll prefer to spend my money in those guys that are the same price as Cole, but in a little bit better of a matchup. First guy is Jacob deGrom against Colorado. What more can we say about this guy at home? He's been incredible all season and really his entire career when he pitches at Citi Field, which he does here today. So far this season, he has a 1.6 ERA and a whip of just 0.92. He's allowed a batting average of just over 200 this year. So he's been very good at home. And one thing I talked about yesterday with Harvey, one reason why I was staying away from him, it's the fact that the Rockies hit left-handed or right-handed pitchers very well. Now, I dug deep to the numbers a little bit, and one thing about that is they haven't been hitting the ball well of late. They lost Troy Tulowitzki, and a lot of those numbers stem from facing right-handed pitchers at home. So although they are a top-tier matchup in the macro sense of things, they're really a decent matchup on the road, especially with a massive park downgrade from Coors Field to Citi Field. The next guy I wanted to talk about was Danny Salazar against the Yankees. I like Salazar pretty much against any team because of his strikeout rate and his walk rate as well. He has one of the highest strikeout to walk ratios in baseball. He has 143 strikeouts and 125 innings so far this year. And one reason why that means I like him is because even if he gives up a few runs, those strikeouts are definitely going to balance things out. He has the upside to strike out more than 10 guys a game, and it's odd to see a pitcher like him with his excellent stuff to not walk a lot of guys. And that's also a big thing for DraftKings and Fantasy Aces and other sites that use more than one pitcher, because the fact is that their scoring system, it deducts points for base runners, it deducts points for hits, it deducts points for walks. So guys like Salazar, who strike out a lot of hitters but don't allow many walks or base hits, it means that they're a massive value pretty much on any site that doesn't allow you to deduct points. And that's one reason why I like him on DraftKings, especially in GPPs and sites like Fantasy Aces and Fantasy Feud as well, simply because he will be lesser owned with all the people that have Kershaw and probably deGrom today. But he definitely has the upside to work into the 30s or into the 20s on FanDuel, depending on what site you play on. The other pitchers I wanted to talk about is probably you've heard me talk about every 5 days, Michael Wacha. Wacha pitches again today against the Pittsburgh Pirates. That Pirates offense has a lot of right-handed hitters, and meaning that sometimes they struggle against right-handed pitchers. We saw that in the past couple of weeks. They've been struggling as a whole, as an entire unit, because one of the things with that offense is if it runs fast. They have a lot of good base runners. They have a lot of good power hitters. But when they're off, they can be really off, and that's one reason why I like Wacha. Before, Wacha's big issue was the fact that he didn't strike out a lot of hitters. And it's been odd because in the last 10 games, he has all 10 of 5 strikeouts or more. He has a strikeout per 9 of over 9 in the last 10 starts. But the weird thing is his ERA in those starts is over 4. So it looks like he kind of flip-flopped into what kind of pitcher he is. Now, that being said, 3 of those 10 starts, he allowed 5 earned runs, and that'll kind of throw off the ERA. In his last 2 starts, he hasn't allowed an earned run, but his strikeouts have stayed highly at the same. So one thing with Wacha is I do like him in cash and tournaments tonight because he now has that upside with strikeouts, and he's been one of the more consistent pitchers in baseball. The last guy I wanted to mention is my only cheap pitcher, and the reason why I emphasize cheap is he's not all that cheap, but considering the rest of the pitchers on the slate, you're getting him at a bit of a discount. That guy is Andrew Heaney against the Chicago White Sox. He's a left-handed pitcher facing the Chicago White Sox who struggle against left-handed pitching. We've talked about this before. But the thing is with that White Sox offense is it's one of the few top-tier matchups that are left. And what I mean by that is they have a very low WOBA, a very low ISO, a very high strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. So a guy like Heaney has a top-tier matchup. And that White Sox lineup struggled a bit against Hector Santiago last night. They put a few runs up on the board, but there weren't that many hard-hit balls, and Santiago wasn't his best last night. So a guy like Heaney, who actually I believe has a little bit more talent than Santiago, he could be in for a big game tonight. The one thing about Heaney is we looked at his game logs. He's had 8 starts. He's been very good in all but one of those starts, and that start came against the Baltimore Orioles. Now, the Orioles have one of the better left-handed hitting lineups, or lineups to hit left-handed pitching in baseball. So one of the things that I look at when I look at certain pitchers against certain teams is a guy like Heaney who's had very good matchups and performed well, and he's had one bad matchup and he didn't perform well. But in a good matchup against the White Sox today, I think he can kind of turn the Jets on and maybe get 7 or 8 strikeouts and have a nice day for a cheaper pitcher based on the other pitchers on the slate. There's one more point I wanted to do when we got out of here, before we get out of here, and it's something I know we all look for. On these smaller sites, you tend to see some overlay that's popping up. Some sites have been using some GPPs that are half full, and I think that's why you guys need to go check out Fantasy Feud because so there's been some overlay on their big tournaments. I know they have a $33 tournament, a $2 tournament, and they have a qualifier that they run once or twice a week as well. There's been some big overlay there, and it's a bigger chance to cash for a lot of money. So if you haven't signed up over there, be sure to go check it out. Use the promo code CURVE, which will get you a $100 deposit bonus of up to $500. And as always, RotoCurve will give you $25 just like that if you deposit under their link and use a deposit more than $50. Now, also, you can use your Curve points to get an additional $25. So as we say each day here, every time you sign up, some good things can happen. You can use your Curve points. You can get free money. So be sure to take advantage of that. Get into those overlaid contests on Fantasy Feud and make today a profitable day. That pretty much ends our pitching segment for today. I know you guys can always look at the RotoCurve tools. They're updated every day. And Danielle will have her weather video out for later today. So make sure to look at that because last night we had some weather issues that were kind of lingering, but ended up not being a problem. Today, I'm not sure we can say the same. So be sure to keep an eye out for that and also look at those RotoCurve lineups page because, once again, if some of those top guys aren't hitting, like if there's a guy like Mike Trout out of the lineup, it really downgrades that lineup, and it will upgrade their pitcher. So be sure to look at anything to your advantage, and let's take advantage of a smaller slate, but it's actually a good slate that is a 10-game slate because of all the good pitching. So use everything to your advantage, and let's win some money tonight on a Wednesday afternoon. Good night, everybody.